Welcome to the AeroExploration podcast, where aviation's past, present, and future meet. We explore the stories that build aviation history, take you inside the industry today, and uncover the career paths and innovations keeping the industry in motion. We go behind the scenes, into the cockpit, and onto the ramp, meeting the people and discovering the places that define aviation. If it's part of the flying world, you'll find it here. This is AeroExploration.
Welcome back, everyone, to the AeroExploration podcast. My name is Jim, and I'm your host. And on this episode, we have another Fly the Transition story as we welcome back one of our former guests. Now, this gentleman has been on the podcast. I think this is his third appearance on this specific podcast. The first one was back all the way in, I think it was December of 2023. It is Mr. Bryan Turner of Just Plain Silly fame on YouTube. We're going to catch up with him and see where he's at with his aviation career change journey after 2 years since the first time he was on the podcast. It's going to be pretty exciting to hear that. As for other things going on, I know that we have been teasing this whole check ride thing for, well, a while now. And I've talked about how I had a date set up. We were ready to go. I wasn't going to share that date because if it didn't happen, I didn't want it to be out in space hanging over me that this didn't happen. Well, today was supposed to be that day. And unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, we have to push the check ride back. I don't have a new date yet. What I will say here is that I'm still really grateful for the last week and a half or so where I've really been immersed in preparing for this check ride. I felt really prepared today. I felt ready to go. And it's of no fault of anybody that this got pushed back. That's just how aviation works sometimes. And I think that's an important lesson here that you can prepare and be ready for all the things to happen. The aviation gods will do what they do at times, and it's just how it works. So I'll be patient. I'll wait for that follow-up for when I can reschedule this check ride, and it just gives me some more time to brush up on the few areas where I'm like, I think I know this stuff, but if I have to on the check ride, I'll just refer back to the FARs if that's necessary. Just give me a little bit more time to brush up on those couple areas, and then I can get some more flying time in too. So this thing's still going to happen, and one day I will be able to call myself a CFI, hopefully soon. Okay, so on to this episode's interview with Mr. Bryan Turner. I will say that I've got a tremendous amount of respect for Bryan. He's just a super nice, genuine guy. His content is funny, but beyond that, he's just a great person who I admire a lot in this content creation space of aviation. So to see him go from his career in IT to following his passion and dreams and becoming an airline pilot is just so awesome. And this episode is so great because we're able to go from that 2 years ago where we're talking to him about thinking about making this move to now he's done it. He is an airline pilot, and it's just so awesome to hear his story. And he's going to fill us in about what's been going on since the interview until he got onto the line. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bryan Turner. All right, welcome back, the one and only Bryan Turner. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. We're not here to talk about me, though. We're here to talk about all of the changes you've had in your life. God, it was probably, was it a year or two ago that we had you on, and you're like, I'm making the change. I'm getting out of IT. I can't remember what year it was.
It would have been 24. So okay. My company, I was the director of IT at a company. Yep. They went out of business on April 1st, actually 24. And I knew somewhere between 6 months and a year ahead of time that this was probably going to happen. But probably 6 months prior, I was like hitting my resumes pretty hard. And so at that time, I learned, a couple of things have changed. Like my skill set had atrophied a little bit. Because my company was kind of old-fashioned and didn't do not a lot of new tech. And also, I just haven't been hands-on in a while. I was a software engineer when I was a kid, but as a director, I'm kind of higher level. I don't do stuff. And the world has shifted a little bit in that a lot of the higher-level people are expected to be very hands-on. Okay. And so I spent probably a good 6 months frantically trying to find an IT job and not getting any phone calls, which is very out of the ordinary for me historically in IT. I look for a job for 4 or 5 weeks and I've got a couple to pick from. And it was just absolutely, and I'm trying to figure out what's the problem. Am I too old? Like, I don't know what this is. but I'm hearing nothing. I'm starting to get scared. And so I thought, well, I know how to fly planes. I've got a couple of ratings and some hours. I thought, well, while I'm frantically, sending out IT resumes, let me see if I can go grab, commercial multi and, get those last. I was about 400 hours away from the magic, 1500.
Yeah.
And so I did that. So, it was in the morning, I'm, throwing out IT resumes and then hopping in my plane and flying as far away from Dallas as I can get and get back in a day. So my furthest trip was 13 hours round trip to St. Augustine, Florida to have lunch with my friend Spencer Suderman.
I think I remember this story.
I called him. I was like, dude, you want to get lunch? He's like, are you in town? I go, no, but I'm building time and I own a
Not
plane.
yet.
So I did a bunch of goofy flights. Just, I have a friend in Wisconsin, so I'll fly up there and visit him. So
Yeah, you're going to get cheese curds, weren't you?
I did. I went to Wisconsin and got cheese curds. Me and my daughter had come up with this silly plan, which kind of would have been a fun video series, but it didn't work out. We were like, she's like, okay, Dad, you're going to go to Idaho and get a potato. You're going to go here and, and get whatever this is. And so, but due to weather and stuff, it was like, okay, I can get to the Northeast today, and I know someone up there. So probably the weirdest one was actually did fly up to meet, you may know Ryan Dombrowski. He used to have a channel called Super Air, and he's in Wisconsin. Yep. I got to about 50 miles from his airport before storms shut me down. And I was like, I couldn't get there. I was like, well, I guess I'm going to go get a hotel. And it would have been a 2-hour drive for him to come pick me up. So we never even made contact. So I called him from the hotel. And I was like, this is as close as I'm getting, man. But I did go across the street to a Circle K and got some cheese curds. So that
Good. You got to do that.
So I got the hours. And I think we already covered the commercial, multi, all those kind of things. I got in those ratings. And so, then I discovered what is the most important thing in aviation I know and truly believe is key to any sort of success, and that is networking. Yeah. In the current ecosystem, I don't know, a year ago, 10 years ago, 10 years, 5 years from now, in the current ecosystem, I think who is going to play a larger role in getting into a 121 for sure. I don't know the 135 world, but professional flying. I will say this for better or for worse, through my networking from having the channel and knowing different people. I am degree of Kevin Bacon away from the chief pilot at my regional.
Okay.
And so I was like, hey, you're in with these guys, you hang out with these people, said, can you put in a good word or whatever? And I was asked, well, give me a copy of your resume and I'll just hand it to him. And the next day my phone rang. And it was them saying, hey, send us this information. We want to bring you in for an interview. And so the day after I gave my resume to someone to give to the chief pilot, my phone rings. I know that the networking is the reason that phone rang because they weren't even hiring. This was October of 24. I went to my interview and normally these interviews, 15, 20 people in a room get called out one by one. It was me and two people applying to be cadets. So kind of younger CFI guys and me. And so they interviewed me. The interview was a whirlwind. It was very fast. In hindsight, I would say maybe I was over prepared. But I think I did well. And then they said, expect a class date in 6 months or so, because they really weren't hiring. So networking 100% got me in the door. Now we are hiring like absolute crazy. If I go to the schoolhouse, there's 30 guys in suits all there for interviews with their freshly shaved mustaches. But so I guess networking is a key thing. That's if you want to go get a job in aviation today, start meeting people, rubbing elbows with people, even if it's outside your comfort zone. Talk to folks, because I think last I heard we have something like 5,000 applicants for 500 jobs. I don't know those exact numbers, but it's something like that. So find a way to differentiate yourself. But again, 3 years ago, we were paying people a crap ton of money off the street, like these insane bonuses that are more than my year's salary. If you could, so it's what I'm saying will be expired information a week from now, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
the industry's always been cyclical. So
it is 3 years from now, maybe if you can fog a mirror, you can fly a jet. But right now you gotta, get someone's attention.
Sure. So in our last episode that I had you on was I did the research because I didn't do it before we recorded, because why like prepare for things like this.
Yeah, planning is so like yesterday.
So overrated.
Yeah.
So January 7th was our last episode. And I remember now that, I mean, you talked about that interview process and how much of a whirlwind that was. And just, you had like almost the two different personalities in the room, one that would kind of go quickly through a question or a procedure on a chart and ask you questions. And then you had the other person who kind of brought it back to reality for a second and let you catch your breath.
Yes.
So from what you understand, is that fairly common in the industry?
That's so being, where I'm at now, talking to everybody, that's at our company and our parent company. That's how it goes. It's one guy, and I'm a 48-year-old professional who's interviewed many people and been interviewed many times, but this is not an IT interview. I'm not the expert in the room anymore. And this one guy's talking real fast, just rapid fire. And so I'm nervous. And I think that's why the other person is there, because the other person is this sweet HR person who's like, hey, what is it that interests you about this company, or what got you into flying? Did you have a dad fly, family members fly? You just love it, like really bringing it back down. And so you get the business side. And I think once they see that you're kind of like, they go, the HR person steps in and is like, you got a dog? What kind of dog do you got? But it was very nice because I could feel my I don't know, my blood pressure, but I could feel myself getting stressed when he would rapid fire questions. And then she would talk to me. And, even when she would talk to me, he would be a nice person. He'd be like, oh, cool. What kind of dog? Whatever the question was. But he's like, okay, back to me. We're going to, and now we're going to get back into it. So, but the whole process was maybe between 20 and 30 minutes. It felt a lot longer than that, but it's quick. And, I think they can tell from those rapid fire questions how much you stumble, whether you're prepared, whether you really know stuff, or you just kind of, read. So it's a process that works. And I expect that's probably very similar throughout the industry in different companies.
Okay. So you talked about, there is a timeline that you had to wait for that gig. How did you keep yourself occupied and like work through that process of just hurry up and wait?
So I know as pilots, we're not supposed to use the word depression, but
the
that's
FAA doesn't listen to this podcast.
That's fine. I'm not, I'll talk about stuff because we're all human.
We are.
I did get to where I was like, man, I feel useless. I feel worthless. I'm a person who likes to have a goal and likes to cross. And I'm talking about big things, little things. I just need to be constantly crossing things off a list.
Yeah.
And wife's working, kids are at school. I'm in a house all by myself. And like, there's not like literally to the point, like, I don't know what to do with my time. I'm starting projects, but I don't have a ton of extra money because I'm not working. And so I'm like, I have to do something. And smarter hindsight 2020 is like, you got a gym membership, dude. That would have been a great 6 months to go,
just really get swole.
Just do it, dude. That's not the guy we interviewed. But so what ended up happening was just kind of coincidence. A friend of mine who he owns a company called 6-7 Designs. They make mounts for plane. Yeah. He's a friend of mine, and he calls me and we just talk from time to time, maybe a couple times a quarter or whatever. And he just called. He's like, "How are you doing?" And I said, "You know what?" I said, "I'll be honest with you." I said, "I'm not doing very good." I said, "I'm inventing ways to kill time. I'm really bored. I'm like to the point of like I feel kind of useless. My self-worth feels really bad. Like I just don't feel good because I'm not doing anything." And I can email the company and go, "Hey, am I still?" I did a couple of times. I'd email them and say, "Hey, just checking. Am I still in the list?" And I'm like, "Yep, you're in the pool. We'll get to you when it's time." And so we're so he has a factory, a workshop where they make these things, and he said, "I can put you to work." And I was real big on like I don't want this to be a charity thing. Like if there's value I can provide.
Yeah.
Boy, was there. I was sweating in this warehouse. And I want to say like 4, sometimes 5 days a week, which isn't, but when you're soft IT guy like me, like breathing in this 3D printing powder that things are printed in and scrubbing parts and sandblasting things, I'm not built for that. I'm not afraid to admit that. I don't go outside. I've got allergies. I've been in tech. I'm a tech guy, man. Like, so for me, coming home just reeking and drenched in sweat and like sore, stiff old man back, all that crap. But I came home with such a sense of accomplishment. And so it was like, okay, I just need to be working. Fortunately that, if it happened again, I go get a paper route. I don't care, bartend, whatever. But, a part of it was I didn't know when they were going to call.
Yeah.
They could not tell me. So I couldn't go get a job. Like I couldn't go, I was looking, every once in a while I go look for like a business analyst or just some entry level coding position. I was like, it's not fair to that company for me to go in and 3 days later they call and say, hey, your class date's ready. So I was like, I can't screw over a company. I'm not destitute. I've got enough money to get through whatever storm I need to get through. So I'm okay. But so I just couldn't sleep at night if I like got a job and like started a project and was like, sorry, gotta go. I had this other thing planned all along. So
yeah. Well, and I think that speaks to your character too. So
I try, but
and
so
not like
6-7
cartoon
designs,
character. I get where that could be misconstrued.
Well, but with 6-7 designs, I talked to the owner and said, hey, he knew. I mean, he's follows the channel and all that kind of stuff. And he goes, I'll put you to work until the time is that you leave. And I guess the saddest thing, I talked to him yesterday, and he's like, he talks about how hard the business is, and he goes, I don't know that I've had that much fun since you've left. He's like, I haven't been able to go on vacation. Like, again, I'm doing a entry level warehouse job, and I'm the toilet needs to be cleaned. I clean. Like I just get stuff done. Like I solve problems. I don't sit around on my phone. But I'm a man doing kind of a kid's job, and so I think it was the first time he had anyone come in and go, oh, and he went off and did some training, and he went and took a vacation. He's like, I haven't ever been able to do this because I can't get, and it's just it's an age thing. It's just how I am, I guess. But I was like, man, I can do all this if you need to leave. And so there are a lot of times where he would go take off. And so I talked to him yesterday, and he's like, he goes, ever since you left, I've been, the guy doing all the stuff again. And I'm like, so, but it was good that I gave him that,
Yeah. Yeah.
But it made me, I put my head in a good space. I felt like I was accomplishing stuff. Like I felt really good about myself. I felt like I was, working hard, which makes me feel good. So, the lesson learned is if you got a bunch of downtime, and if you're like me, where you're just goal oriented, you find something, even if it's a job that you think maybe, I'm using finger quotes, below you, because no job is below you, but it's not even the money. Like it's not about the money. It's about he gave me a way to accomplish things, and of course he paid me for it, which was great. So
that helps.
That helps. But so that's how I remained sane, because I was very close to trying to figure out how to remain sane, and
Sure.
that lifeline was thrown to me. So and I don't want to get not really depressed, but like down, and my wife comes home and I'm just kicking myself. It's not good for the rest of the family for me to be in that mindset either. So
Sure.
I'm very, very thankful. Again, networking, right? Networking,
Right. Yeah, glad that worked out.
Yeah.
So we get to a point now where Bryan goes back to school. What was that like, going back into a classroom environment and getting the fire hose turned on you of information for your airline gig?
I will be so transparent about all of this, and I know some people wouldn't. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, hands down. The most humbling thing I've ever gone through, because I am not a young man. I started class 48 years old. I'm not wasn't the most proficient instrument pilot. I fly an old steam gauge Comanche with a Garmin in it, no autopilot. So I never did the flight school G1000 stuff. So there's a whole lot of concepts that were new to me. And I'm in a class full of CFIs and military guys and stuff. And CFIs are in a constant teaching learning cycle. Military guys know how to learn. So I'm in a room. There's 3 or 4 guys my age or older. And then I'm calling them kids, but they are so sharp, Jim. They pick this stuff up and they can spit it back out and go to the bar at night and come back and do it again the next day. And I'm staying up till 1:00 in the morning going, why can I not remember these 6 things? And so it was, the classroom stuff was okay. Once we started doing the simulator stuff, not simulators, but we call them CPTs, procedure trainers. It's like a simulator that doesn't move. Yeah. Once we started doing that, I started getting real scared, because the instructors, expected you to come in knowing a lot more than I knew. Okay. And so I'm really quickly becoming aware of how much I don't know. And I'm terrified. Because now I'm calling my wife and going, I may not have a job here pretty soon. Like I'm very nervous. And she's like, just keep fighting the good fight and we'll address that when it comes. So the CPT trainers were really hard. The company, I swear, if I'm a lifer here and I retire, I'm going to retire into the training department. I raised my hand and asked for help, and a few people were like, "Yes, we are here to help you." And I don't understand why. There's this one guy who's in my phone, and I text him now when I do a cool flight, like, "Hey man, I'm out here killing it." He came in on a Sunday, and he didn't have to. He's like, "Hey," he's like, "I've been where you are," and that's something I hear in this company. And I work for Envoy. We can say that. something I hear
Okay.
at Envoy a lot is, I've been where you are. I understand what you're going through. And so this instructor, this guy, said, I'll meet you up there. You can have as much time as you want. And I said, can I film it? Like whatever. He was going to teach me how to do all these different modes and approaches and things that we do. We call it the box on the computer in the airplane, FMS. And so he walks me through all the rules, all this kind of stuff. And I got this video on my phone and, commit every night before I go to bed. I'm watching this video until I can spit this stuff out rote. Until I've got a poster of the cockpit on my wall in my hotel and one at my house.
Sure.
And I would do little tricks. Like I need to be the best pilot that this company's ever seen, right? I'm goal oriented. And so I do all these little tricks. And one thing I noticed as me and my partner and some other people, like they say, okay, dial in your altitude 20,000 feet. And they'd accidentally hit the altimeter button, or the knobs that look similar or whatever. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to eyes down and have my partner just say altitude. And I'm going to look up and hit the altitude button. We'll do it 100 times. Okay, now the flight level change button, now the nav button. So I'm building muscle memory so that I'm not wasting time going, okay, is that the right button? Reading it? Should I touch it?
Yeah.
Do I know? So trying to chip away at little things that are going to get in my way so I can focus on the bigger things. And so this is the stuff the kids aren't having to do. These guys who live on iPads and tech and modern stuff, hand-eye coordination, all this kind of stuff. I'm just not a young guy. So I'm doing the little stuff at night to build muscle memory. I'm watching the video of the guy who was teaching me about the approaches and all that kind of stuff. And so my procedure validation comes up, which is the last thing before you go to sims. Yeah. And I was shaking. Like I was like really, really nervous. And I was like, I don't understand why I'm so nervous. And I think it's because in some sense, my job and my family's livelihood is kind of on the line. And this instructor comes in and he's like real kind of calm and quiet and stuff. And, a little bit aloof, like not super engaged or whatever. But I think he was just trying to let me be me and sort of figure out what he thought. And so, I'm kind of showing him the flight plan and doing some stuff. And he's kind of like, yeah, whatever. And then we start finger quotes, taxiing out. And then like 15 minutes into all this 2-hour test, he starts just getting real casual and starts making jokes and cracking me up and laughing. And like, suddenly I'm like, is this a distraction to try to see if I'll, I don't know, deviate from stereo cockpit or whatever? Like I'm like, to me is everything's like trick.
Everything's a test.
And we got done and he's like, yeah, you passed, you did great. And I go, that got real easy there. Like I go, I really appreciate your style and the way you addressed me. And he goes, well, once I realized what you were capable of, he's like, I knew you were going to pass. He's like, if I, 15 minutes in, I could tell you were not, making it up or guessing, you were going to get a whole different version of me. So I think what's inside my head and what's outside my head are two different things. So yeah, inside my head, I'm like this panicked guy going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? But on the outside, I think I look to this instructor like those kids maybe look to me. Like, yeah, this guy, he's where he needs to be based on what he's been taught. So that was a little bit of a life lesson in the imposter syndrome, which you and I have discussed.
Yes, we have. I mean, to touch on that a little bit, we have discussed it. I think that's more common in aviation than probably either of us really realize, as far as people getting to a certain point in their journey and thinking, what am I doing here? I don't belong here.
Yeah. What happens when they figure out I'm faking?
Exactly. At least for me, I'm not sure for you. I mean, we've got all these other people around us that are professionals in the aviation space, whether it be the professional instructors or they're flying their dream job at the airlines, they're check pilots at the airlines, and now we're just trying to make our way. And I think it's easy to put them on a pedestal, so to speak, to be like, I am not at that level. How am I, like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not at the level of that person. But then coming back to what you said earlier about you've got instructors there who are like, hey, I've been exactly where you've been. And I think it's hard to keep sight of the long-term goal sometimes when you're playing comparison games, and we just have to go and, do our thing. We're more capable than we give ourselves credit for.
And this is something, and this is new for me, which it bothers me because I'm not young. Like I should have had this epiphany years ago. I'm in the cockpit. I'm in the cockpit now going, man, should I be better? Should I know more? And I'm like, just no one's watching you looking for an excuse to fire you from this job. Like you're there as a crew with the captain flying, even now there's stuff I 100% know how to do. And I'm like, hey, captain, just so you know, here's my plan. And he's like, thanks for speaking it because I don't know what's in your head. And it's like, oh, okay. For the rest of my career, I can go, hey, captain, here's what I'm going to do. And that's appreciated. It's not a sign of weakness.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
I think comparing yourself, and we all do it, to other people is the problem in aviation, especially because it's full of egos, and ego looks like confidence. And so you're like, oh man, these people all know what they're doing. And we'll go back to training a little bit in a second, but I recently called a classmate of mine who's like former military, like this guy's just Tom Cruise, Top Gun, like the guy just exudes confidence. He's this big, just knows his stuff kind of guy. And we were talking about scheduling and stuff. And I said, hey, I got a question for you. I said, I got a couple of things I'm struggling with, with respect to some descent modes, going to outstations and stuff like that. And he just goes, you are not alone. He goes, that is you. That is me. That is probably everyone in our class. He goes, that's one of the toughest things. Captains, I keep talking to them about it. And they're like, yep, that's everybody. He goes, you're probably exactly where you need to be, or maybe even ahead. So I was like, okay, so Captain Confidence is doing the same thing in his head. He just looks better in a suit.
Yeah, he's just better doing it. Fair. Okay.
So I think just reminding myself that I have things I need to do, and if I don't understand something, there's no the worst thing would be like, crap, I hope this is right, and then do something wrong. The right thing to do is go, hey, Captain, I'm a little foggy on this, and the captain go, every time I've said that to a captain, he's been like, yep, there's 10 ways to do it. Let me show you how I do it. Or they'll say, or I'll say, hey, or I'll say, hey, this is what I want to do. And the captain will go, that's going to work. Go for it. But, and they love it. Cause when I say stuff like that, I'm like, I hope I don't sound like an idiot. And he goes, no, you sound like a crew. Like, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a leader of IT anymore where I just do what I need to do. I'm part of a team. So
yeah, that's a great point.
So the other hard part that I haven't voiced this anywhere publicly, and I'm not bothered by it anymore, but we went to sims, and in sims I struggled. Most of the sims were pretty good. There were some personality issues with the guy they paired me with, and I'm not going to dive into that, but it caused some delays in training. And towards the end, things got real rocky. I had a maneuvers validation, which is probably the hardest thing you'll do in the sim. And there was a maneuver on there that I got unsat, and so I had to repeat that. And I was 40 people in the class. I think I'm the only one. Well, there's people who didn't make it, but I think of all the people who made it, I think I'm the only one who had to repeat a maneuver. I'm not 100% sure, but
okay,
that was a kick in the confidence. But they did. They said, "Look, we're not here to kick you out. Let's go get you some extra sessions, and we'll get you trained up on that maneuver, and then someone will make a decision whether or not you need to redo the whole ride or just that one maneuver." And so.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to go down that path because it might be a different experience for other people, but I got what I needed. And then they said, all right, fantastic. We're going to go take your picture by the sim. There's one more check right after that called an LOE, which is non-event, just a flight. They just want to make sure you can fly the plane, and that went fine. Good. So really feeling like I'm on the verge of failing a test, losing my job, and going, crap, kids, we may need to start selling some things, to having that piece of paper in my hand. And I think I am probably 10 times more confident and 10 times more humble than I was the last time you and I spoke. Like the way I think about life has changed a lot just because I went, so close to the edge, but so many people willing to go so far to help me, and realizing that I'm not the dumbest guy in class. I'm not the smartest guy in class. I'm just a guy in class who went to class, and now I'm an airline pilot. And I just had what's called a 6-month probationary meeting, and they pull captains do reports on us. And she's like, I'm going to read you. Oh, yeah. And I was like, oh, this sounds like an exciting thing for you to read to me. So she's like, I'm going to start reading these reports. Every report was like, hey, he's exactly where he needs to be. The things he's struggling with are common. He's got a great personality. He asks questions. He clearly wants to, everything. I was about to tear up while they're reading these captain's reports to me. And I was like, oh, that feels really good. I don't have to sit here and go, am I making it? Am I learning fast enough? That was kind of sort of a checkbox that, hey, you turn the download imposter syndrome back a little bit.
Yeah. Right.
So that was training and check rides.
Okay. Let me go back to something on just the maneuvers part of it real quick.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back to I think that everyone experiences at some point in their aviation journey, whether it's prepping for a check ride or what, you've got that one maneuver every once in a while that's going to bite you, that you just struggle with. Is it basically the same kind of concept once you are, doing this kind of ride to get through the sims?
Absolutely. It was a single engine ILS without the autopilot. So you have a plane with one jet engine on one wing that's pulling the whole thing sideways.
Okay.
And you don't have the autopilot, and the rudder on this jet, it's not like a Cessna. We don't use our rudder very much at all. That's a concept. Boy, you get in the simulator, like, stop using the rudder, when for 15 years all I've heard is more right rudder.
More right rudder.
Don't touch. I took off the other day and just instinctively started putting in some rudder. And the guy goes, what are you doing? I was like, sorry. He's like, get off the rudder pedals. I was like, oh, yeah.
So instead of heels on the floor, is it like your entire feet on the floor? Like, just keep them flat. Is that the idea?
Dude, yes. The rudder pedals are electronic. They can slide away from your feet or under your feet. And it's like, there's no P factor. There's a whole lot of reasons you just don't use it. The jet compensates with the yaw damper and stuff. It's very smart.
Sure. Okay. Very cool.
But yeah, it was a single engine ILS, and I've never flown a plane with the flight director before, so I'm behind the flight director. I'm still trying to kind of figure out how to get some intuition about the flight director.
Yeah.
And I keep breaking out, and it's like, go around. You're not lined up with the runway. And it was one of those things where it's like, why can't I get this? And it's a hard maneuver. Like, if you ask anyone, they'll be like, single engine ILS without the autopilot, that's terrifying. V1 cuts, all the other stuff that people talk about aren't bad, but that maneuver was my nemesis. And recurrent training is in 6 months, and I'm gonna have to do it again.
Like, oh, goody.
And that's not something I can go practice in the plane. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go sideways here for a bit.
From the flight deck, just real quick. Oh, jeez. You had a pretty cool experience as far as your line check airmen.
Yes. 2 line check airmen. First one, Christy Schaefer. A lot of people know her on social media, formerly Christy Wong. So she was my line check airman for the first half of what's called IOE. And again, new guy going into a jet, and they're just going to pair you with the captain. And so I don't know who this person is. I haven't met any captains. I don't know if they're nice. Are they jerks? And so she called and she goes, I've been assigned to you for your IOE first 2 legs, or what it was, 10 legs is what it was.
Okay.
So there was no stress in she did my instrument. I've flown with her. She's a known entity.
I was going to say, she was a CFI for you at some point.
Yeah, I was going to say she got me my instrument rating. I got my instrument rating. She was my CFI for instrument.
Okay.
And so she knows how and again, this is another coincidence, fluke, whatever you want to call it, where I lucked out. Like, this is not something everybody gets, as a former instructor being their check airman.
But how cool is that?
It was cool. It was very cool because I was nervous, and I was like, I don't want to, and this is, your IOE is a checking event. And again, so this sense of jeopardy. So, okay. And the first couple of legs, I was like, I'm not going to make it in this job. She's the best pilot ever. Just like, I don't know how. Our first flight was a 20-minute flight from Dallas to College Station. And I'm like, it's still taking me 10 minutes to walk around the plane. It's taking me 10 or 15 minutes to program the box wrong so someone can reprogram it. And there's passengers on the plane. So it's all this stress. I'm like, I don't know where anything is. And then she's like, so we did this first flight. I go, this is all you. I was like, I'll do the radios. And then it's even weird because the airport's closed. It's the middle of the night, so I'm doing CTAF calls. Like, and the worst CTAF calls ever, because I'm like, College Station traffic, this is envoy whatever, on the visual backed up by the ILS. What am I saying? Just like your first private flight, trying to talk on the radio. Like I just sound dumb. And then on that first flight, it was night. We hit a bird right in the middle of the window and scared the daylights out of me. Big old splat right on the window, and so I'm like, everything's happening so fast. So the next day, my wife goes out to College Station and gets on the flight that I'm flying back to Dallas, and so very cool experience. So they put my wife Erin in the first class and gave her champagne and
cool.
Yeah, embarrassed her on the announcements, and so she was like, just teary-eyed this whole flight, like, maybe he's doing it, and probably also like he's got a job.
You're not sure which one the tears are for. It's finally happening.
I was almost like, Christy, can you land this time? Because I don't want to be a bad landing in there and go, what the hell was that? But I absolutely greased it on, and DFW was beautiful.
Awesome.
And then the next day we had a really long flight out to North Carolina, and so it was okay. We're gonna go slow. We didn't have a chance to do it last night because it was a real quick turn. But so we went slow, and she goes, I want to watch you do some stuff. And she goes, okay, I programmed this box. Do this, do that. And she goes, okay, I can tell there's some shortcuts you're not aware of, because I'm typing in the entire flight plan on our EFB. Well, there's a button that says import, and you type your flight number, and it goes and gets it from And she's like, cause I was like, how are you doing this so fast? And she's like, well, show me how you do it. She's like, you typing all that in? I go, yeah. She's like, no. Here, just click import. And I was like, okay. Things they don't tell you in class.
Yeah. Well, I
Because in
suppose
class,
you need to
there's
know
no
how
real,
to do it.
yeah, in class, there's no real flight number for you to, there's a lot of stuff you
Yeah,
can't.
I suppose.
There's a whole lot of stuff, and they know. They're like, you're going to learn more on the line than you are in class. But so then we had a really good sequence. I enjoyed it. That helped probably some of the most nerve-wracking stuff, make it less stressful. And then now it's the second half, which is kind of the test, and this new guy shows up. This guy, I would love to share his story. He went from, he was never supposed to have this job. This guy's life was written in a different direction. Probably a tough childhood, lacking a lot of things that a lot of us take for granted. And this guy worked his way up, and now he's the guy who checks line check airmen. He's like top dog, and he is
wow,
the smartest, one of the best teachers, one of the most humble people. Like, he helped me a lot. Deal with kind of confidence stuff like that and go, hey, this, stuff's going to seem overwhelming. Stuff's going to seem hard. He's like, you're probably not going to be comfortable in this plane until you have 500 hours in it. And hearing that was like, oh, okay. Because, here I am at 27 hours going, why don't I know this?
Yeah.
He was a very good teacher. And I've crossed paths with him at hotels and airports a couple of times and fist bump. I'm like, hey man, what's going on? He's like, I'm doing it. He's like, I never had a doubt, man. Like he
That's awesome.
text me if you got a question. And so the worst part of all of it was he and I flew about 10 legs, and the last leg was Oklahoma City to Dallas, which is a really short flight. And he said the worst thing ever. He's like, all right, this is your check ride. And I was like, you don't have to verbalize that. Please don't say that to me. I know it is. And so the very first thing that happened was we landed in Oklahoma City, and he's like, are you forgetting something? And I was like, crap. What am I? I programmed the box. I got the iPad set up. He's like, don't you need to go pre-flight the airplane? I was like, he goes, Brian, he's like, I need you to take a breath. Like, yes. But before and after every flight, I'm required to walk around the airplane, make sure there are no bird strikes or any other, thing. It's like very basic stuff. He's like, grab your vest, take a deep breath, go slow. He's like, he knew I was getting worked out, but
yeah,
great experience. And so, cut to today. This month I'll cross 200 hours.
Awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, I love every minute of it. This is another just fluke of timing. My seniority is way higher than it probably would have been if I'd gotten this job 2 years ago. I was on reserve for the last 5 days, and I think I flew twice. I just don't get called that often because there's so many people. We're hiring people like crazy, and we're getting new planes like crazy. So we have lots of new planes coming, lots of new pilots coming, and so life on reserve is a little different. I do constantly refresh this list called open time. That's flights that don't have pilots assigned, and try to calculate how many people are below me and which flights am I probably going to get.
Okay.
And, when the weather's good and things are nice, I don't really get called that much. These big storms in Chicago last week got me in Chicago a lot. I will give them some slack and say I just don't know the system, but I think even if I knew the system, it's kind of chaotic. I would say it feels chaotic. But so I'm feeling pretty comfortable. I would say I'm about 85% confident in every part of it. There's still I know how to take off, fly, land, do everything I need to do. If there was an emergency, that's when I'd probably be like, hey, Captain, before we, something unusual. When I say emergency, I don't mean like there's emergency, I've got books, but something unusual happens. Like, Captain, I don't understand what's going on here. Can we talk through this before I start making decisions? And that's, probably 200 hours. That's probably about right. You know how to fly the plane. There's a couple of modes there that are a little foggy because we don't use them much. Haven't flown a VOR approach since the Sims. So if we had to do one of those, I'd be like, okay, let's walk through this. So I do believe I'm where I'm supposed to be skill-wise and confidence-wise right now, and that feels pretty good.
So on that note, have you kicked the imposter out of your brain?
I think so.
Do you believe you belong here now?
I believe I belong here. I believe.
Good.
I don't know what I believe, like, are things meant to be or not? But it's like my company went out of business on April 1st, and my first day on this job was June 2nd. They went out of business. Sorry, was it April? They had gone out of business like 6 months before, but they kept me on this retainer. The retainer basically ended like 2 days before this job started. The class date was given. And so I was like, okay, I'm like, they told me we got another month here, and then we're going to transition our systems over, and you're done. And I was like, crap. And then that's when they called and said your class date's next Monday. I was like, what are the odds?
Right.
So I do very much. For the first couple of months, I was like, okay, I'm an IT guy. My side hustle is that I'm an airline pilot. And now I'm like, IT guys, that's how I thought of it. I was like, okay, keep your eye on the IT board just in case. And now I'm like, I'm not an IT guy. I told my wife about 2 weeks ago, this is the first time if someone asked me what you do for a living, I'd say, oh, I'm an airline pilot. Prior to that, I'd be like, I'm taking a stab at this, taking a run at this, flying thing. But now if you ask me, I'm an airline pilot.
Good for you, man. That's so awesome. I'm so glad to hear that.
Pros and cons. I hate the suit. I've never worn a suit in my life. I did just upgrade from a clip-on tie to what's called a zip tie. I'm not getting an actual tie. I'm not my dad. I'm in base, which is the greatest thing of all time. So I live 25 minutes from the airport. If they call me to fly on reserve, they have to give me 2 hours and 45 minutes heads up.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sitting in a fraternity house with 50 other pilots in a crash pad. That's what happens for these people who commute.
Yeah.
My seniority's gone up quickly. So I pick up shifts on my day off, and I fly almost as much on my days off as I do on reserve. And that pays time and a half. So I may do a 5-day reserve sequence and only do like one night, but then I got 3 or 4 days off, and I can go fly 15, 20 hours on those days. And now I'm flying more for more money than on reserve. So the ability to throttle, our bidding system is complicated. We won't go into it, but I can prioritize my schedule or I can prioritize my money. So I'm probably the first person in the world to be like, yeah, my first month in, I got Thanksgiving and Christmas off.
Jeez,
that's unheard of. Everyone told me 3 years you're going to be working all the holidays, and I'm like, lucky me, I'm not, because my seniority's gone up. So if I bid reserve, I can get whatever days I want off. If I bid hard lines, I can actually hold a line right now 3 months in, which is unheard of. Mm-hmm. And so I can say, okay, my hard lines, you choose, like, I want to prioritize weekends off, or I want to prioritize most flying or most money or most time off. And that's kind of how I can bid now and say, what is my goal? And in January, I don't have any holidays to worry about, so I'm going to fly as much as possible to get the hours. During July, I'm probably going to bid reserve so I can get the week of Oshkosh off. So there's tremendous amount of flexibility that I've never had in a job before. The only downside is that you do start to get that feeling on reserve that, like, okay, the phone could ring at any minute, and suddenly I've got to shift from whatever it is I'm doing to I've got to be ready to work. So I've always got a 3-night bag packed and the uniform ready to go. And you do kind of start feeling like, oh, the last 2 reserve sequences, they almost didn't use me. I'm probably not going to fly on this one. And then they send you to, Chicago for 4 days. And you're like, I only packed for 3. But all of the cons so far are better than anything I ever had in IT. So anything that I would say to anyone that sounds like complaining, like, this is a way better life. And if I could have, knowing what I know now, 20 years ago, I should have dove into this. And even knowing there was a COVID and 9/11, whatever, like, there were furloughs, there were these bad things that hit airlines, and it's going to happen again. Even knowing that, and again, if you do what I did and you love it, that's great. But I can't believe I sat in a desk in a cubicle for 25 years reporting to a guy. I don't have a boss now, as long as I don't make mistakes. If I screw up, go to the chief pilot's office. If I don't screw up, we'll never talk to her. It's like,
yeah.
So there's no one looking over my shoulder. I get an alert on my iPad that says you need to be at gate Bravo 24 in 2.5 hours. You're going to, XNA or wherever for an overnight. It's like, okay, show up at the plane, meet the captain, and go fly. It's like, dude, and I love flying the jet. It's so much fun. So it's like, I don't know, dude. I feel like I got to live 2 lives. One is kind of a boring IT professional, and one where I'm flying jets, and I don't know. I'm off more now than I was in IT.
That is so cool.
So
I'm only a little insanely jealous.
I can't. I would be like, everybody should do this. Was it October? I was off 18 days. Maybe it was September. I had 18 days off, and I spent 8 nights in hotels. So I was only away from my house for 8 nights. 18 complete days off, which is unheard of at a job in IT. You get the weekends off, but I'm still on email and got the laptop with me. And here, when you're off, there's no contact. Like, the company if the company contacted me today, they'd have to reset my sleep schedule and be like, oh, we made contact. And I'd be like, you can't do that. And they'd be like, oh, you're right. We got to add 10 hours to your day off.
Jeez.
I've never had a job. I was picking up days off, time on my days off, week before last. And they said, nope, you can't work Thursday. You're tired. You need 30 hours off. And I was like, so there's a block on my calendar that just shows a 30-hour. Never have I had a boss be like, you're tired. You can't work legally. like, okay, but I still get paid. Okay.
Jeez.
So
another quick question I have for you is
sure.
you talk about like the traveling part of it, and that's likely very different from your IT world where you're spending time in hotels away from home.
Yep.
Is there a way that you balance that and maybe even the finances of it? I'm sure that like the room itself is covered by the airlines, but is there like a per diem for meals, or how does that work for you guys?
Yeah, they give you a per diem. It's like, I don't know. I'm going to pull a number out of the air. It's somewhere between $500 and $1,000 a month. It's just, if I'm gone for 10 hours, it's like $2 an hour, some number. But it's like,
okay.
No one's writing you a check for your food. But also everybody brings their own food. So that just kind of gets treated as compensation.
Oh, okay.
I went into this with my worst fear being like, I'm going to be scared to be away from my family.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be here to help them. I'm going to be living in hotels. And that's turned out to be a complete non-issue. One, I'm not gone as much as I thought I was. I thought I was going to be like, I'll be gone for 5 days and back for 2 and gone for another 5. It's not like that. A lot of turns out and back in the same day. The longest I've been away is 3 nights in a row. And that doesn't happen back to back all that often. So,
okay.
Yesterday I was on reserve. Today I'm off. And so, my wife's out of town because we get to travel for free now. And so she's in Philadelphia.
She's like, see ya.
she pieced out on day 1. But so the kids and I are going to play games and have dinner and watch a movie tonight. And so one thing I found is, and this maybe is kind of obvious, the time I spend with my family now is way more quality because there's times when I'm not here. It's not that there's less of it, but my son's like, oh, I went to come in and tuck you in and hug you the other night, but I forgot you were gone. And so we're all aware that their dad's not here at nights. I don't know, 8, 9, 10 days out of a month. So when I'm here, we're doing movie night and game night and all kinds of like family stuff, just because I think now we value that time a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Versus before, there were 4 of us living in the house, and everyone, even after game night today, everyone's going to go. I'm going to edit video. My son's going to play video games. My daughter's going to do art. But we all feel the value of taking a moment when we're all here and going, hey, let's do something together. And we've historically not done that except holidays, or just really randomly. Now it's very consistent.
That is so great.
So the quality of our time together is, I would say, higher for all 4 of us. So that's, again, it's a weird benefit because you're like, yeah, I am gone sometimes, but it's like, for the last 25 years, or however old my kids are, I'm like, we're kind of gone. I'm kind of gone anyway because we're not really together that much. We eat and everyone separates. Now it's like, all right, what are we going to do tonight? And so I think, and my kids are 16 and 18. I think we're watching Pulp Fiction tonight. So we're going to.
Yes.
You're going to learn some new words, kids. Just don't repeat them. They better be new words.
Yeah, right. You mentioned something that I'm going to go back to, where you said that you're probably going to edit some videos.
Uh-huh.
So there's obviously been some, pauses and breaks and stuff with the YouTube channel. What's your plan moving forward with that?
Will you help me come up with one?
I'll work on it. Yeah. We're all over it.
I don't. Yeah. I don't know. I'm struggling with something that I'm a pilot and I've been a pilot, but it's kind of becoming who I am, and I'm not in love with that. Like, I feel like everything I eat, sleep, and breathe can't be aviation, and now that it's my job, it's starting to feel that way. Okay. And I'm running out of love with flying videos, but I do find myself wanting to create. Like, I want to create, I want to edit, I want to do that. And so I'm like, I need to figure out how to compartmentalize work versus my love of aviation. Because right now I love my job, but I come home from a sequence and I don't want to talk to a pilot. I don't want to talk about an airplane. Today I've been having conversations about, should I sell the Comanche? Like, it's not that I don't love flying. It's that I don't want to be, I've never been a guy who's got the keychains and the look at me flying T-shirts and remove before. Like I don't want it to be my identity, but it's starting to feel like the only thing I do. And so I'm sitting down on my video editor today. I tasked myself with coming up with some ideas. And so it's going to have to be aviation because that's the channel, but I need to have it not feel like it's all consuming or something. And so I'm struggling with how to keep the channel going because I like having a channel. But being able to do aviation stuff without feeling like that's all I'm thinking about 24 hours a day. I think there's probably value. At one point I thought about spinning up a second channel about professional aviation, but I think there's more. I don't think I want to run a second channel. I think I may create a series called From the Flight Deck or something like that, where I just talk about what we're talking about, but short little videos or something. But I do find myself going like, man, I really want to edit something. And I've got this spreadsheet up on my right monitor with all these ideas. I'm like, I'm aviation saturated. And so I'm trying to figure out how to unsaturate so that I can do the creative piece. And so, but I'm like, does anyone want to see a pilot talk about pilot? Like everyone on the internet's a pilot talking about pilot stuff. So I did a couple of videos early on where I was like, I put on the uniform, whatever. And then I was like, okay, I'm not doing that again. But it was neat to go, this is the transition. But so the really short answer is I don't know. I feel a desire to create and edit and tinker, but I struggle with the content being interesting to me. And that's something I've got to get over. So that's literally, when you asked me, you talked to me today, I was sitting there going through my spreadsheet going, okay, which of these ideas bothers me the least?
Jeez.
Because I like the editor. I like dragging video around and cutting it and coming up with creative ways to put music in and all that. I like that, but it's like
good at it. So
well, I hope so. But it's like, it's just like I need to carve out some hours of every day where there's no aviation involvement, so it doesn't feel like that's all that defines me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So that's my Brian's Tasmanian devil brain spinning on today.
Is there anything else that you want to cover that I haven't talked about or that we haven't talked about?
Not that I can think about. I mean, it's not like like I said, probably hardest thing I've done in my life. Probably one of the best things I've done in my life. Way less of concern about how this was going to impact me and my family. Everybody seems to be perfectly adjusted to. And again, my kids are 16 and 18. If they were little kids, I'd have a wife going, "You can't be delayed,"
Yeah.
So everything's working out. I feel good. I like what I'm doing. I like where I'm going. I bring hiking shoes everywhere I go until the temperature gets much colder. I get to the hotel and I go explore the town. Even at some little podunk town, I like to go see what's available. So I'm enjoying going to these new places. It's just all good right now.
All right, Brian. Well, first of all, congratulations on this really great step in your career and making it to where you have. I'm so happy for you. And thanks again for joining me and kind of running us through what the progression looked like for you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you once again to Brian for joining me on this episode of the podcast. It is always a pleasure to be able to sit down and chat with him, anything aviation related. So I'm so happy for him achieving his dreams, and I can't wait to see where he goes with his airlines and what his future will hold. So now that we've heard Brian's story, I want to hear all of your stories. If you out there are listening to this podcast and you are either in the midst of a career change, you know someone who has made a career change, or you've made a career change yourself, we want to hear from you to continue the Fly the Transition series within AeroExploration. So if you or someone that you know would be a great guest, shoot me an email over at jim@flymidwest.com, and I'd love to chat with you about the opportunity to have you on a future episode. You can also send me an email at the same location if you have ideas that are not necessarily a career change that you want me to cover on AeroExploration. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. This is AeroExploration, and we'll see you next time.